In the frozen heart of Siberia, 3 nuclear devices were buried deep beneath the earth and detonated. Not for war, but to reshape nature itself. But they did not just move rivers, they awakened something ancient, something unnatural, something that should never have been disturbed. What began as a utopian Cold War engineering dream became a radioactive scar hidden deep in the taiga. And what lives there now was never supposed to exist. By the 1960s, the Soviet Union had a plan to outdo nature itself. Their scientists believed they could reverse the very flow of rivers, diverting vast northern streams like the Ob, Irtysh, and Yenisei southward to save the Soviet breadbasket and feed the drying Aral Sea. The reasoning was chillingly simple. Billions of tons of fresh water flowed uselessly into the Arctic each year. Why not re-engineer rivers to flow south instead, into Central Asia's deserts? The cost of this hydrological fantasy was staggering. Redirecting rivers would require over 1,500 kilometers of artificial canals. This was more than engineering, it was ideological. To Soviet planners, the environment was a tool to be mastered, bent to the will of the state. To carve the canals, the USSR turned to one of its most terrifying tools: peaceful nuclear explosions, PNEs. Under the program Nuclear Explosions for the National Economy, they repurposed atomic weapons for civil engineering. The idea was grand and dangerous. Use atomic blasts to excavate vast trenches quickly, replacing decades of manual labor. Between 1965 and 1989, over 100 such detonations were conducted. One of the boldest attempts took place in 1971 under the code name Taiga. 3 nuclear devices, each 15 kilotons, were buried near the Vishurka River in the Komi Republic. This was the pilot test for the proposed Pechora-Kama Canal, a shortcut for moving Arctic water to the Volga Basin. February 23, 1971. In a frozen swamp just north of the Urals, Soviet engineers stood ready. The Taiga test would detonate 3 underground bombs simultaneously, buried 127 meters beneath the permafrost. The goal: trigger overlapping craters to form the initial trench of the Pechora-Kama Canal. The countdown reached 0. In a flash, the ground heaved violently. Columns of radioactive steam burst upward. A 700-meter-wide crater swallowed the forest. But what came next was less triumphant. The explosions didn't align perfectly. Instead of a trench, a single massive cavity formed. The idea of using nukes to dig canals in unstable permafrost proved flawed. Worse, the area was dangerously radioactive. The crater quickly filled with water, forming what locals now call Nuclear Lake. It lies deep in the Komi Republic's boreal forest, accessible only by boat or helicopter. The lake spans nearly 700 meters across. Mounted around the rim are fallout barriers, still visible today. Trees at the blast epicenter remain stunted or dead. Officially, radiation levels dropped over time, but scientists note irregularities. Some areas show safe readings. Others, particularly the southern shore, still spike above background. No one knows exactly how the radiation moves through the soil and water. Despite the mixed results at Taiga, the USSR doubled down. In 1975, the Central Committee endorsed full-scale river reversal. The plan would reroute up to 27 cubic kilometers of water annually. Canals and pumps would force northern rivers southward, into the Caspian and Aral basins. But opposition emerged. Soviet hydrologist Sergei Zalagin warned of catastrophic ecological damage. He argued it would lower Arctic sea salinity, destabilize global climate patterns, and irreversibly harm Siberian wetlands. Writers, scientists, and citizens voiced rare dissent. Even loyal technocrats began to waver.
Произошла авария. Поврежден один из атомных реакторов. Принимаются меры по ликвидации последствий аварии.
Then came Chernobyl. In 1986, the Soviet nuclear utopia shattered. Amid radioactive fallout and international scrutiny, Gorbachev shelved the river reversal permanently. The Taiga test crater remained, a silent reminder of an empire's ambition, now crumbling. Blueprints were shelved. The canal was never built. And the peaceful nukes were buried in historical shame. In recent years, curiosity returned to Nuclear Lake. Russian blogger Andrei Fedii visited in 2024. With a Geiger counter in hand, he documented fluctuating radiation. Some zones were safe, others were not. And yet, life was everywhere. Small fish darted through the shallows. Aquatic insects buzzed along the surface. Even mushrooms and fungi, once thought sensitive to radiation, thrived. Researchers began collecting samples. What they found surprised them. Extremophile fungi with mutated DNA, likely adapted to absorb or resist radiation. Some glowed faintly. Others spread rapidly in microzones of contamination. Analysis of these organisms revealed abnormal metabolic traits, enhanced melanin production, altered spore dispersion rates, and unusual resistance to mutagenic stress. Some biologists suggested horizontal gene transfer between species, an unlikely, though not impossible, event. Could fungi be exchanging genes with aquatic organisms, forming entirely new strains of life? The crater may have become a petri dish for accelerated evolution, or something more alien. No one can say for sure, but the patterns don't match any known ecosystem. Despite its dangers, the river reversal dream persists. In 2025, Russian researchers proposed renewed Arctic diversion to offset global warming. Others saw profit, water pipe from Siberia to China. But experts warn the climate impact could be severe, melting permafrost faster, destabilizing ice caps, and altering weather systems. Still, the temptation remains. Control nature, sell its power, and ignore the past. And if you were as shocked and hopeful by this extraordinary story as we were, make sure to like this video, share it widely with your friends, and subscribe for more world-changing revelations about our planet's future.